take turns, but I miss it when I don't have
Check.
it. Yeah. Just one, it's worth it. So we're not doing this one?
May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive.
The words are easy. You can follow along.
May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for coming. That's our service. Welcome. I'm Rabbi Joel Nickerson.
I'm Cantor Lisa Piecott.
It's wonderful for all of us to be together. We have a few special guests that I want to point out. First, Father Alexi, where are you? Father Alexi has brought a group of students from Mount St. Mary's University along to check out a Jewish service, so welcome. Thank you for being here. Where's Merle Weiner? I have to call her out too. Merle is a member of our community, and Merle does not live in Los Angeles. Merle lives in Arizona, and during the pandemic, when everything was online, Merle, there used to be this app where you would check in every place you went. I'm totally blanking on the name now. Foursquare. Foursquare was the app. You would go somewhere and you would check in, and if you were there the most amount of times, you became the mayor of a location. And I would say that Merle was the mayor of our online community. Merle showed up for literally every single Zoom that we offered during the pandemic. Merle was there from her distant home in Arizona, and she's here this weekend. So it's wonderful to have you here.
This is my other home. I was raised here, I went to camp here, and I'm never leaving here.
Amen. Thank you for being here. Also, I met David from Alaska. Where's David from Alaska? Stand up, David. David came with the Janals, but is in town, and his grandfather pitched a tent in Anchorage, Alaska, what was it, 1915, is that what you said? And started delivering groceries in Anchorage, Alaska, and one of the first Jewish families, and he is here now, visiting, so welcome. So turn to the people near you, introduce yourself, even if you just came from down the street, it's okay. Say Shabbat Shalom. Okay, you can schmooze more after. In a minute, we're going to have Ella light the Shabbat candles, but I want to point out something from this week's Torah portion. We're at the last 2 plagues of the 10 plagues. We don't get all 10 plagues in one Torah portion. And does anyone remember what the 9th plague is? The 10th, everyone remembers the 10th plague. Darkness. Darkness. So interesting, what it says about darkness in the 9th plague is that it was so dark that no one could see his brother and no one was able to rise up. And there was a darkness that was so dark that people couldn't see the person next to them, and it was so dark they weren't able to rise up. Now, of course, it's not just about physically standing up. It's not literally about just being able to see your brother or your sister. It was a darkness that was so penetrating that people had no spiritual or physical connection to the world besides themselves. And that's what we're trying to break tonight, and what we try and break every Friday night and Saturday with Shabbat, is the darkness that can permeate the world around us, that the stress and anxiety that can come into our lives throughout the week, the loss, the anxiety, the pain. And Shabbat comes to say, even in those moments where you feel like you can't see beyond your own face, when you feel like you can't even get up, there is this concept that you can be surrounded by a community, that you can find light. And so we start Shabbat by lighting candles to remember that there is nothing that can penetrate, that cannot penetrate that darkness, that there is this light of Shabbat that can get through anything. So Ella, whose bat mitzvah is next weekend, come on up. Bring your family up with you, the whole Taylor crew. And why don't you light those candles for us, and then we'll all join together in the blessing.
We're going to bring in that light 3 times. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to continue to welcome in Shabbat with the words of Shalom Aleichem. We welcome in those angels that the rabbis of old told us about to bless our community this Shabbat. You can follow along on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Sharin, Malachi Elyonim, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Sharin, Malachi Elyonim, Melech Malachi HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyonim, Melech מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, מלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון, מלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. יאללה ליי, יאללה ליי, יאללה ליי, יאללה ליי, יאללה ליי,
Cantor, Lisa and I did a funeral just yesterday for a man who had been married for 63 years. His wife died about 6 months ago, and he was just, his life was so tied into hers that he really just couldn't live without her. But they had a beautiful life together, and as we talked about yesterday, now they are reunited again for eternity. And then right before this service, I was on the other side of town at our other campus meeting with a wedding couple who are just at the start. They're getting married in June, and this was our first meeting, and the way they were talking about each other and the love that they have for each other. And so in the span of 24 hours, I had both ends. I had the end, and I had the very beginning. And it makes me think about Lecha Dodi, this next prayer, which is really about Shabbat, which is this ancient practice, this ancient ritual that's been around forever, and that every single week we're supposed to imagine it's as new as it just came into our life today, like in imagining that first love, or when you see someone for the first time and you feel connection. And so Lecha Dodi is supposed to bring us into a space where we feel connected to something. And there are some people here tonight who have lost people in their life who they love very much, and there are people here who are just at the start of their connection of love. And there are people in between, and there are people still searching. And Shabbat is our opportunity to recognize that whole spectrum and to realize that this can be a space where no matter where you are on that journey, that this is a place where it can all come together as one community. So we're going to continue together with Lecha Dodi, verses 1, 2, and 9 on page 20. And for the last verse, we'll rise and we'll stand and we'll turn to the back to imagine greeting the Sabbath bride.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, tenei Shabbat, mekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, tenei Shabbat, mekabela. Try it, Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, tenei
to the back to imagine greeting the Sabbath bride.
בואי בשלום נעטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וצהלה. תוך אמוני הסגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. We remain standing for our call to prayer, the Baruch Hu found on page 28. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely, open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely, open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely, open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely, open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely, open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
May be seated. I want to invite Ella up to lead us in the Ve'ahavta. You can find it on page 36. It's a continuation of what the Cantor was just chanting, which is this idea of opening up our hearts, our minds, our lips. But what matters in our tradition is not just the words, but how we act. And Ve'ahavta is a reminder of how we're supposed to act in the world.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha ובכל מאודיך, וחיות הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, ובשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ושרתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We're very lucky that a little later Nitzan Birnbaum is going to lead us in a recognition and kind of an art piece to recognize that today is the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which the UN chose this date because this is the day in 1945 where the Red Army went and liberated Auschwitz-Birkenau, where over 1 million Jews were murdered. And this next prayer is about liberation. And yes, we have to remember, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Holocaust later, but I mean, today I think about how we are so far from liberated. Do you know there have been, I think it's 39 mass shootings in the 24 days, the first 24 days of 2023, there have been 39 mass shootings in this country, some of which we know right here in Los Angeles. That, of course, today in East Jerusalem, 7 Jews were killed at a synagogue. 8 now, okay? So it's very hard sometimes for me to get up here and talk about how freedom and liberation is something that feels so attainable every week, because the truth is, you look out at the world and it feels like we are falling further and further away from this idea of liberation, that 9th plague that I mentioned earlier is just taking over. That darkness is just spreading like wildfire. And of course, I don't have the answer, and I'm not here to give you the answer. I wish I had it. But there is something beautiful about and brilliant about what our tradition does, which is to say, despite the fact that we are far from free, that we are not liberated from all this violence that exists in our city, in our country, around the world, because we are Jewish, we're not free of all that, and the truth is we probably never will be completely free of that. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to remember that every single day does give us an opportunity. Like, as counterintuitive as it may feel, that we have to remember this idea of liberation, despite the fact that we feel so enslaved and we feel like we have no control over anything that's happening. And Mi Chamocha is supposed to be that reminder every single day that we might not be able to change policy exactly. We can change policy, but individually, we may not feel like we can do it today. But you can free yourself a little. And if you are frustrated about something, the way you can free yourself is to do something about it, talk about it, act on it. That we actually have more power and capability of finding liberation than we give ourselves credit for. And that's what Mi Chamocha is all about.
one of the ways that we've kept ourselves going throughout all of the trials and tribulations throughout our Jewish history is we've always had our text, our sacred text. And our next prayer, the Hashkivenu, is one of those that throughout all of the pogroms, the plagues, the famine that our people have held close to, this hope for peace. We ask God that we go to sleep tonight in peace, and that God willing, we wake up tomorrow, because we know there's work to do, right? We know that we have to make this world a better place, that it's a partnership between God and human beings. But we have this text which acknowledges that there are some very scary elements in the world. We've seen it this year with the rise in antisemitism, Holocaust deniers. But our ancestors, they faced the same thing. But by coming together as a community, by holding to our traditions and our rituals, and by agreeing and acknowledging the responsibility that each of us has in changing the world. So I invite you all to join me in this prayer that has been with our people for generations, a prayer for peace, the Hashkivenu. You can follow along on page 45. 42, I stand corrected. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. 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 Okay, we're gonna try something a little bit different. You're gonna say Shalom. Ready? You're going to follow after me. Shalom. 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 We pray for shalom.
I want to invite Ella back up. We're on page 46. She's going to lead us in the Amidah. It's a standing prayer. And I'm just thinking tonight about what it means to stand up, and how tonight we're thinking about all those in our past who many of whom didn't survive, and yet there were many out there, Jews and non-Jews alike, who did stand up, who worked and who raised their voices. And the first blessing of the Amidah is about those who came before us. The Avot Ve'imahot is all about our ancestors. So as we go through this tonight, I want you to think about your own family story, and or who has stood up for you, or in what ways are you going to stand up for others. So Ella is going to lead us starting on page 46 and then 48 and 50 together. And then we'll take a few moments for silent prayer after that.
Adonai, sefatach titach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Astei Avot Be'imaho, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shmo Ve'ahava, Melech Ozer Umashia Umagen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye al kol atav, Rav leHoshia. Mashiv haruach, Marid hagashem, Mechalkel chaim behesed. Mehaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al geverot, Umito melach, Melech memit umechayeh umatzmiah Yeshua v'ne'eman atah lechachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol.
Take just a few moments for our own silent prayer. Maybe just close your eyes and offer your own prayer to God, and then you may be seated once we close the ark. We always take a moment for a Misha Berach during our services. Our Misha Berach is our prayer for healing, whether it's physical or emotional or spiritual. And so in this version, we're going to take a moment in between the verses, and if you're thinking of someone and you want to share their name or something else about them, we'll have the opportunity. I'll come around and you'll be able to stand up and share any names of people who need some healing, who need the prayers of this community to give them some strength at this time.
מי שברך אבות
Jacob Friedman, Merlot Gadushi, Levi Jonathan, James Klein, Cindy Letter, Michael Levi, Michael Levy, Ronald Linicki, Philip Marber, Annette Pansky, Trevor Sangster, Charles Schwartz, Karen Shanbraum, and Alan Soroti. Any other names of people who are in need of healing? Please feel free to stand up and I'll come around to you.
My brother Matthew.
Helen O'Connor.
Jim McNutt.
John, Mike, Sully, Maurice, Victor, Katia, Angela, and Farah.
Alex Zweig and Megan Firestone.
My sister Cynthia Evan. Phil Himmelstein.
Stuart Banner.
Marsha Maiden.
Karen Nasseri, Raquel Hilo.
Betty Sklar Danford. Nahid Sadeh.
Raz Weissman.
Sydney Margolis, Susan Koenig.
Sue Frankel, Jean Bluestein.
My husband, Michael Alkov, and my daughter, Nicole Alkov. Thank you.
Ken Cloak, Ann Lane.
Tony Loader, Bob Gottesman, Bob Shecker.
Alexa Perone.
Uncle Farshad.
Robin Kaplan. Faith Gomberg Steinsauer, Judy Pulver, George Malloyan, Paulette Hawkins.
Haim Hoter and Gila Asred.
Aiden Zerabi.
Erwin Volk.
Daryl, Annie, and Barbara.
Lauren Cruzwell, Perry Herwig.
Kelly Bavor.
Randy Blatt, Barbie Wiener, and Gidon Affleck.
Jaime Rappaport.
We're thinking about all of them as we continue to offer this prayer. We're going to transition now into the second piece of our program tonight, which we're very lucky that we were able to partner with Stand With Us. We have Aaron Alkabas. Can you stand, Aaron? Who's the executive director of Stand With Us for Los Angeles, who's also a member of our community. We have so many people who give to the broader community who are members of our community, so we're very lucky. You know, it's interesting, as Jews, we actually have 2 days where we commemorate the Holocaust. This is not the only one. What's the other one? Yom HaShoah. And I think we have two, because like all things Jewish, there's not just one way to do things, but also because I think they both represent two pieces of what it means to remember the Holocaust. I think today, which, by the way, only I think in 2005, the UN passed the resolution creating the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This is a day that really solidifies the Holocaust in history. And what I mean by that is that this makes sure that the Holocaust is on that universal timeline of significant events that go across race, religion, ethnicity. It doesn't matter. This is, we remember the history. It is in the history books. But as Jews, we know that there's another very important part of events that have happened, and that's memory. And so Yom HaShoah to me represents the memory piece. We have the history today, but then we also have the memory, which solidifies an event in our DNA. And both days can represent both of those things, but I think those are two pieces that are really essential to when we think about the Holocaust, when we think about our responsibility for never again. It is both history and memory. And for us, it's important that we pass that along. So tonight, we're very lucky that we get to have a unique experience. In a moment, I'd love for Nili Alon Amit, Dr. Nili Alon Amit, who's the Associate Director of Holocaust Education, for Stand With Us to come up. She's going to introduce Nitzan. Aaron came to Cantor, Piecott, and myself and said, look, we have this incredible opportunity to bring a fabulous artist and musician to the community, to honor this day, but to do it in a way that's slightly different. He will, of course, explain, but I want to turn it over to Nili to introduce him.
Thank you, and hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. It's the first time experience for me. I come from Israel, so this is all new to me, so thank you for this amazing experience. I am from Stand With Us. Stand With Us is an organization, a nonprofit organization that educates about Israel and combats anti-Semitism. I'm very proud to be part of this organization. The organization has been here in LA and internationally for 21 years, and we have here Aaron Elkovitz, who is the director of the LA office and international events, and Leora Bergstein, who is in charge of high school education in this area, and Chloe Levian, who is in charge of campus education in this area, and Stephanie Margolis, who is in charge of national events. And I will introduce Nitzan very, very soon. I will talk for 1 minute about the Holocaust Education Center. We were founded a year and a half ago. The organization exists 21 years, but we were founded a year and a half ago because, as you know, anti-Semitic events that are connected with Holocaust denial are on the rise. We have swastikas drawn on walls in schools. We have the names that are connected to the Holocaust called in school without even the kids not knowing what's the significance of that. So we came in order to educate, and we do that not only on IHRD and Yom HaShoah, we do it all year long because we believe that Holocaust education is essential everywhere, anytime, for students of any religion, everywhere, to know that this happened in history and it could happen again if we let hate lead us. So we talk against hate speech, and we talk about things like being an upstander, not being a bystander. We bring Holocaust education in various ways. We have amazing programs, which we will be happy to talk with you about. But a very important way to educate is through art. And this is how we came in contact with Nitzan Birnbaum, because we think that teaching through art, music, artists, painters, authors, anybody, poets, anybody who can come and commemorate the Holocaust in their way. It's like a channel that goes through to the students and reaches them in deeper ways. And this brings me to introduce Nitzan. Nitzan Birnbaum is 24 years old. He's from Tel Mond, Moshev in Israel, and he is now a student in Berklee School of Music in Boston. And Nitzan founded by himself this amazing project commemorating the Holocaust through the story of his grandfather, Professor Rabbi Irwin Birnbaum. You will hear his story very, very soon. He, in an album of 2 parts, he tells the story of his own childhood through the Holocaust, how he survived. It's an amazing story. How he made Aliyah to Israel. He was on the Exodus ship. He was sent back. He came back again. This whole story is encompassed in this album, and what Nitzan does with music to that story is unbelievable. And we are so happy that we have the opportunity to bring this project to you today. So thank you very much, and we'll turn it over to Nitzan.
Hello, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. I think we'll go straight to playing, but I just want to say I'm really honored to be here today. And thank you for listening now, and we'll start.
My name is Nitzan Birnbaum. I am now 89 plus years old. I lived through the Shoah, the Holocaust. I want you to know that because of the story that you will hear, I learned to appreciate life, and I take every day as a present, as a gift. My name is Nitzan Birnbaum, and this is my story. I want to live a child. But now, Geisha. Now go already. They will all see that I am a Jew. Look at my Jewish nose. So, where was God? My name is Nitzan Birnbaum, and this is my story.
So this was the first chapter of 14 chapters. Like Neely said, it came out as 2 different albums, and the stories in those albums was my bedtime stories that my dad told me when I was a kid. And as I grew up older and older, my questions became deeper. And it went to a point that I sat with my grandfather and we spoke for hours. It was precious time together around 6 years ago. And I don't know if I have any answers, but I do have much more questions now after doing this album. So yeah, this was the opening tune of the first album, and I invite you all to go listen to the albums later. We'll proceed with a story about a 14-year-old kid, my grandfather, and his big brother Mickey, dealing with the arrival of the Nazis into their town in Košice in Slovakia.
We saw that the deportation of the Jews is taking place. My brother Mickey and I were alone at home. We went to our grandparents who lived next door. What do you say to your grandparents when you know that you're saying the last goodbye? So before we had a chance to open our mouth, my grandfather stood up, came over to me, embraced me, and said in Yiddish, "Ich will leben, mein Kind." I want to live, my child. But now, yes, Geshe. Now go already. So Mickey and I took off our yellow star that was very significant, and we struck out nonchalantly, headed to our hiding place.
Thank you. You hear me, right? Yeah. I just want to say thank you for you guys for listening, and it's really a great honor to be here. I was dreaming about this project for a long time, but I didn't even have a chance of dreaming of being here today. So thank you. I want to thank Cantor Lisa Piecott and Rabbi Nickerson for this beautiful evening. Just amazing. Like Neely said, in Israel we don't have those stuff, so we should be happy about it. I want to thank Neely Alon Amit, from Stand With Us, and Aaron Elkabetz from Stand With Us for making this happen. Let's see. This next song is a prayer. It's a prayer for peace in Israel and in the world. And my grandfather will say his message, his last chapter of the second album. So this is his message for the world. And I'm very happy today because his message is living on with each and every one of you a little bit. So thank you. And he passed away 6 months ago, peacefully in Israel, surrounded with family. And this is I wish I could tell him I'm doing this now. So thanks, guys.
There is so much in our world which is utilized for regretful purposes. People destroy each other. They eat each other up. And instead of doing that, they could do just the opposite. Build it up, make it into a real paradise. We could be dedicating our lives to making the world a better place. And this starts with each and every one of us. We have to realize that behind the clouds there is the sun shining. There is an opportunity in every crisis. And we should never, never give up. My name is Nitzan Birnbaum, and this is my story.
Avinu, Avinu, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. ברך, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, והגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. You can join me if you know it. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך, ותקנם בעצה טובה Thank you.
Thank you, Nitzan. That was beautiful. I'd like us actually to read the English translation of the prayer that he just offered. It's on page 259. I ask all of you to please rise. It's our prayer for the state of Israel. Again, page 259, the bottom will read the English translation. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. You may be seated. Thank you to Stand With Us, to Nitzan. I know there are people in our community who are supporters of Stand With Us, so thank you. Just a couple of announcements before we conclude with Mourner's Kaddish. Thank you to Michelle Zweig. Where are you, Michelle? Thank you for the rugelach today. Thank you. Anytime anyone wants to donate food to our cause, feel free. As a Jewish community, we will take any and all. Next Friday, this is part of Cantor, Piecott, and I, our service called Koleinu, which is about, we call it Our Voice, opportunity to do things like this. Next week, we're going to be on the other side of town in Koreatown with another organization, HIAS, for Refugee Shabbat. We have a speaker from their organization. We have a guest Cantor who has a gorgeous voice, Iranian Jewish woman who's also going to talk a little bit about her story, her family's story. So if you're willing and able to go to that side of town, feel free to join us next week. We have the little schmooze on that side of town at 6, and services start at 7 o'clock. We're going to be in the Audrey Ermis Pavilion, a beautiful new building there. So feel free to come and hear some stories and a very different service than tonight in some ways, and also very similar. I think that's all I have for announcements for now. We're going to move now to page 294, the Mourner's Kaddish. We have a lot of names and a lot of incidences that we are commemorating tonight. So I am going to share the list of names, and then I'll go around and ask if there are other names of people whom you're thinking of that we should add to the list, and then we will all rise and offer Mourner's Kaddish together. But we're thinking, since we are commemorating International Holocaust Remembrance Day, we're thinking about all those Jews, especially those from the 6 death camps, Chelmno, Belzec, Sobibor, Treblinka, Majdanek, and Auschwitz-Birkenau, used to carry out the systematic mass murder of Jews as part of the final solution. Thinking about all of those Jews who perished. The gun violence deaths that we have seen in this state and around the country so far this year. Thinking about, of course, those 8 murdered at the synagogue in Neve Yaakov in Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, on this Erev Shabbat in Israel. By the way, those included 5 men ages 20, 25, 30, 50, and 60, and 2 women 60 and 70 years old. Those in our own community whom we are thinking of. First, those who have passed away in the past month: Joel Altschul, Stuart Melvin, Michael Rakotz, Louis Rosen, Tamara Stoliarski, and Martin Weitz. The Yartzites we're commemorating this evening: Antonio Aguilar, Toby Alex, Ronald Arthur Allen, Lee Arden, Rose Baker, Max Bass, Faye Beecher, Millie Blair, Amy Rose Block, Paul Borenstein, Bernard Irving Bratter, Harold Brooks, Bernard Brown Sr., Harry Kaplan, Georgiana Castle, Fortune Levy Cohen, Eliana Borfine, Bella Schimmel-Desser, Irvin Deutsch, Jane Deverell, Leo Eben, Louis Ehrenberg, Angelo DeFalco, Frida Feinstein, Stanley Fisher, Meredith Elaine Fishman, Helen Franklin, Hyman Franklin, Minnie Ethel Friedberg, Sidney Galper, Gertrude Geffner, Esther Gitlin, Alice Gittleson, William Gallant, Naomi Satz Goldberg, Nathan Goldberg, Saul Greenberg, David Gross, Gary Gross, Sadie Gruskin, Wendy Hamburg, Judith Sherman Harris, Herman Harris, Henry Hartman, Margaretta Heald, Richard Heitner, Robert Henningsen, Josephine Hertz, Francis Hurwitz, Morris Kaplan, Robert Carrot Sr., Aleph Katz, Paula Klein, Frank Cohn, Raphael Krausen, Mary Kraut, George Kurtz, Alexander Lauterbach, Arthur Levin, Shirley Levitt, Joseph Lubin, Anita Lipson, Alvin Malkin, Benjamin Maltz, Victor Marshall, Anita Marston, Etta Mellinger, Becky Miner, Morris Melnick, Seymour Miller, Arnold Mittler, Marvin Morris, Fanny Nagler, Mary Nahum, Sonia Nadich, Frank Naiman, Sarah Nankin, William Orenstein, Gail Pasternak, Monroe Falzer, Sophie Phillips, William Price, Ed Raskin, Myra Reifman, Jan Richardson, Gail Ritro Rosenthal, Martin Henry Ross, Eleanor Spakozavakova, Sarob Avraham Savis, Harriet Seeling, Verona Seidel, Wilbert Siegel, David Siegel, Larry Slayton, Linus Small, Rosella Smith, Wendy Snyder, Francis Stern, Gary Stern, Aaron Stovitz, Susan Abrams Tiano, Rose Topitz, Stephen Tolkien, Shirley Barrich Varon, Hyman Uyghur, Magda Weiss, Julius Weistein, Milton Wernick, Bella Wesley, Mildred Leslie Widston, Dodge Yeditsian, Alan Zeigler, and Barbara Lefkowitz Zagowski. Any other names of people whom you're thinking of that you'd like to share this evening, please stand so I can come around and hear those names, please.
Laura Greco.
My father, Mark Seffin.
Jack Seneson.
Jane Cameron Lee.
Louis Woe.
Taram Levion.
I ask all of you to please rise as we think about all those in our own community and throughout the Jewish world, throughout history. Again, on page 294, I ask you to join with me. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agalav v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam al me'al maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. v'imru. Amen.
Amen. We're going to conclude our service with the words of Oseh Shalom. We ask that God, however you imagine God's presence to be, that makes peace in the heavens, that peace can be brought here into our world. And just like we learned with Nitzan Saba, that we can't let what happened happen again. It's up to each one of us, not just to tell the stories of the past, but for us to make a promise to ourselves that we will never allow that kind of ugliness to any group of people ever happen again in our world. So we're going to end with a prayer for peace. Feel free to put your arms around your loved ones. Oseh Shalom. Bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to end with Kiddush and Motzi. Ella will lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. If you want to follow along, we're on page 5.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh mereshit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikraye kodesh, zeher yitziat Mitzrayim, ki banu מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה ורצון, הנהלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת לחיים. Take a sip. And last but not least, a little challah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. I quickly want to thank all of our musicians.
Yes,
Lily
please.
Aiku, Janice Markham, Sam Webster, Daniel Reichman, Phoebe Cohen, and Gabe Yaron. Thank you so much. And now Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Thank you.